living suicide project, Calgary, landed. So, why am I here? What you might have realized is I've had a pretty tough past few years. In fact, in my life I have lived with things surrounding depression, self-harm, and suicidality. When 2018 hit, and I had gone through 10, 12 jobs in 6 months, I just felt like shit, and I kept feeling like shit. And I've kept spiraling out of control, and I just really started to see where my life was going. And I started to feel really suicidal again. And I think my suicidality peaked around November or December of 2019, and then it went back down quite a bit when I got the job at Natural Resources Canada. Then my suicidality really started to go off the freaking hanger after I left that job early in March. I had a falling out with a person who at one point I considered my best friend, and they sort of decided they did not want to talk to me anymore. They felt like a lot of issues with my mental health, and our dynamic with her having issues surrounding mental health and PTSD, and me having issues surrounding mental health and self-harm and suicidality. It was just not a good match. And I wanted to help her out, but she just felt like she could no longer help me, and I was not being particularly receptive or understanding her boundaries and my boundaries. So she just didn't want to talk to me anymore. And she actually brought in another friend of hers who was a mutual friend of ours, who kind of came in the middle and said, you know what, you need to stop. You need to not speak to her. And I just felt like, you know what? This person hasn't been very good to you either, and you are using him as a conduit to communicate with me when you can't tell me yourself why you don't want to speak to me and why this is happening. No, stupid, no. So after that whole falling out with her and the issues surrounding me losing my job, I really felt kind of lost and suicidal, and I felt like a lot of people who I thought were my friends were turning against me, and I didn't feel like I actually had a lot of true friends. And I also started feeling like I'm gonna be homeless on the streets, and every time I would think about suicidality and creating a plan to commit suicide, I thought about some other things in life, and I started trying to think, okay, me not want to commit suicide. What if I am going to be thinking of a plan to do anything? Why don't I use this energy to think of a plan that would give me something to look forward to in life? Because a lot of times when someone decides to commit suicide, you feel an immense calm because you finally just said, yes, I'm going to do it. I'm going to put all this crap behind me, and I just want to patch up everything I can, and I'm going to set myself free. and that will give me peace. And that will give me peace. I started thinking about other things that I could do, and I decided that something I had always wanted to do since I can remember, since I was like a teenager, is I wanted to travel, and I wanted to go out west. And so I felt like, if my career isn't going the way I planned, what is something I would like to do with myself? What is something I could actually see myself doing for 35 years? Because I could not feasibly see myself doing what I was doing for 35 years. And it hit me. I would love to be able to travel and continue my writing and just be out in the wilderness and feel free and kind of make up my path as I go, because one of the things I wanted to do and why I chose the path that I chose going into biology, going into environmental sciences, because I wanted to travel. I wanted to spend more time in the wilderness, camping and exploring and studying wildlife and making a real contribution to the environment, to nature, and to science. And I wanted to write. So I started thinking, what if I just did that? What if I went out and made these experiences for myself without having the career? What if I just threw myself at the world and figured out what would happen as I went? And I started thinking about that more, and I started to compartmentalize things better. And anytime I would have any kind of suicidal ideation, I would start thinking about this idea of moving out west and leaving society behind and just living out in the woods, kind of completely free, off the grid, don't give a rat's ass, sleeping under the stars. And that is what I would imagine myself doing anytime I had suicidal ideations. And it worked. It worked really well, but it started coalescing in other ways that might have been a little scary to other people, but just felt like the right thing to me. I started thinking about, what if I actually wanted to do this? How would I actually end up doing this? Because at the same time as that, I was thinking about what I was going to do. I was thinking, what was I going to do with my life? I wasn't working. I was on EI. EI was going to finish. Am I going to get another job? I feel completely drained and burnt out from society, and I don't want another job if it's just going to be the same shitty job again and again and again. And eventually I came to the conclusion that if this is the way things are going to be, I need to start preparing for the worst. I need to start thinking of a plan for if I end up homeless and dropped out and living on the edge of society. What am I going to do? And so I started planning this crazy idea of me going backpacking through the mountains, abandoning all of my stuff, completely dropping my apartment, everything I had in my very nice little apartment in Vanier, Ontario, and just throwing whatever I could carry, whatever I thought I needed on a plane and just go. And then wherever I landed, I would just start my new life and figure my way out from there. I decided that I wanted to go to Calgary because I always wanted to move out west. I always wanted to see the mountains. I always wanted to like go to Banff and go through the provincial parks, and I always wanted to live by the ocean and go to BC. And so I thought this is the best idea.